you check the children? Your little master.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
And you got Jaime and Fuego here.
And we are here to talk about a brand new release that you guys definitely need to make time to go and see, especially if you can do it on opening weekend with a large crowd.
Indeed.
This movie was a surprise for me in as much as how much I enjoyed it. We'll get into it, but today we are talking about what, Fuego? You should be the one to introduce this one.
Yeah, long days and pleasant nights, everyone. But yeah, we are talking about the adaptation of Stephen King's short story, which was collected right here in this baby, Skeleton Crew, and you even have the title character right there on the front of this hardcover. We're talking The Monkey. And, you know, the interesting thing about The Monkey is that this is one that the short story is fairly serious, and it wasn't one of the most memorable from that collection for me. I mean, it was okay, and, you know, like I guess the skeletal structure is the same, you know, throwing little monkey toys down wells, you know, they have like evil and death synonymous with them and everything, but director Ozgood Perkins, writer-director I should specify, who just before this did Long Legs. I know neither of us were super big on that, but pretty much everything else he's done, I enjoyed. Blackfoot's Daughter.
And a lot of people did like Long Legs, so.
Yeah, exactly. We're in the minority on that.
Your mileage may vary.
Amongst the horror fans, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then also Gretel and Hansel. I mean, he's a very talented director and son of Anthony Perkins, so he's a nepo dude. But, you know, I thought this
Son
was
of the Psycho?
Yeah, son of Anthony Perkins, yeah. But it was just interesting with this one because the film was shot entirely in secret, and they didn't even announce it until it was in post-production already. So it was like a whirlwind sort of situation. They kept it under wraps, and then they're like, hey, James Wan's producing, Ozgood Perkins adapting a Stephen King story. And while the tone is drastically different, I really dug just how freaking Looney Tunes silly this movie was. There is almost kind of a pretentious seriousness to the original short story as much as I do enjoy it.
Did you actually call out the title? I don't know if you did.
The Monkey, yeah.
You did? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, I always do that when I...
Yeah, I've also got, this is a really cool drawing of Steve with the aforementioned monkey.
That's sick!
Yeah, this is one that I've been wanting to get framed for a while, but...
Dude, where'd you get... Is that a print?
It's a print, yeah. This is Glenn Chadbourne, I want to say his name is. He's
sick.
Done lots of stuff with Cemetery Dance over the years and whatnot. But yeah, man, so this is one that, while I found it to be a little peculiar that this is what Ozgood Perkins wanted to adapt so badly, it worked. And it worked in spades, at least for me, because of the fact that we're now 3 for 3 for these like horror comedy stuff in 2025. You know, between this, Hard Eyes, and then Companion, we're on a pretty damn good streak, man, because it wasn't a similar vein of silly and like the dialogue, especially in this movie that some of these people are delivering, and it's a lot of instances with a straight face. Like the crowd was very receptive, and I'm hopeful this gets a good response as well in the theaters and makes some money, man. What did you think?
Yeah, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this one. The trailer looked good, but it looked more like a Final Destination kind of movie to me, which Final Destination takes itself very seriously for the most part. And this one, what I found, and what was surprising, but what surprisingly worked so well for me, was the fact that the tone was that of a Looney Tunes cartoon in a horror movie. And like, you might hear that and be like, what? That sounds terrible. What I would say is go into it open-minded, and by the end of it, you will understand what I mean by that. Because you know, on that same side of things, even though I'm describing it that way, it sounded pretty universal that everyone that came out of that theater tonight loved it. I know all the people that we talked to that are in our orbit, they all loved it, and it didn't sound like there was anyone grumbling on their way out. And so it's one of those that you definitely need to see opening weekend with a big audience, because the audience reactions were so entertaining as well. Like, it helps you enjoy the movie that much more, but it's because there's so many, for me, it was way funnier than I expected it to be, but not in the way that Hard Eyes was. Hard Eyes had really funny dialogue. This movie was just really funny in grotesque ways. And additionally, one of the things that I have to remark on, like one of the most remarkable things in the very traditional sense of that word's meaning, is the editing.
Yes.
So much of the comedy came from the editing in this movie. Like there were I'm telling you, there's no fewer than 5 or 6 full-on audience raucous laughs just from editing alone in this movie, which, you know, doesn't sound like a ton, but when it's intermixed with all the other fun stuff that the audience is reacting to, it feels like a lot. And so there was just so much that I told the guys as we walked out, I was like, I love walking out of a theater feeling this way. It doesn't happen that often where I'm so genuinely pleased and tickled with what I see. As a Gore fan, it really played to my love, because this movie is gory, and the effects are something we'll have to talk about.
But it's goofy gory.
But it's Looney Tunes Gore kind of stuff, and it's like literally TNT Looney Tunes Gore kind of stuff. And so, you know, I love it for that. It did not try and be anything else. And what you mentioned about the dialogue being so silly would have absolutely ruined any movie. The dialogue in this movie would have ruined any movie trying to take itself seriously. But because the rest of the movie was presented in such a way, the dialogue felt right in line, man. It felt like all of it was a cohesive unit, but crafted pretty masterfully by Ozgood. So, you know, overall I adored this movie, man. So
yeah, the moment during the first funeral when we get this preacher up there.
Wow, that was so great.
Solidified the tone of that movie for me, man. And I was just like, okay,
it happens. The word of the Lord.
Yeah, well, even when he walks up, he's like, oh, fuck. Yeah, just the tone of this, you know, I guess maybe some of the only people who it wouldn't work for it is if they don't like it, because there are certain reviewers that I follow, one girl in particular, Possessed by Horror, who I watch her stuff.
Yeah, I know her stuff.
And she is like, I do not like horror and comedy mixed together. She does not like it. She likes
Morgan on the channel feels the same way.
And to take like, she wants horror to be taken seriously and be unsettling and frightening and all that other stuff. To that effect, though, this is more of a comedy than it is a horror movie.
I agree. After watching it, yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I have to echo what you said about how, so for every funny bit where you see the grisly, gory craziness going down, those quick edits when you don't see what happens were just as funny in a lot of instances and just as effective too, man. Yeah, it was just very expertly assembled in that regard, because I mean, I watched the movie with awful editing just last week, which was that Love Hurts movie with
Ki-Hee Kwan.
Yeah, exactly. And that movie was terribly edited, whereas where something is being done very masterfully, as you said, in that assembly process, it can only enhance the experience, and in this case, really up the amusement. So
yeah, for sure. Why don't you dive into what the story is? Let's keep it spoiler free, though.
Yeah. So the story is relatively simple in the fact that you have two, and this does entail flashbacks. So you see two twin brothers when they're younger. You have Bill and you have Hal. Hal is our main character, our protagonist. Hal is more on the nerdier side. Bill is more of like the bully, like shake your hand and then no, too slow, you know, sort of silliness. And you know, their father has pieced out on them, you know, very similar to Stephen King's own dad. Went out for a pack of cigarettes, never came back, because what he alleges happened. And so their mother is raising the two of them, and they come upon this piece of craziness that is the title character, the monkey. You know, it's one of those old school, you know, just drumming sort of monkeys and everything.
I had the cymbal monkey when I was a kid.
Yeah, which is technically how it is in the story. And you know,
really?
See, that's how it is in the actual story. So they altered it just slightly. But, you know, with him being like an actual, like with the drumsticks and whatnot. But, so when they discover this creature, basically death and destruction follows this thing everywhere that it goes when it's, wound up and everything. When it starts to drum, that's when, someone is gonna poof, so to speak. And so you see the introduction to these two brothers finding it when they're younger, and then they throw it down a well, and then we fast forward to Hal all grown up. He has a son of his own that he's attempting to connect to, and the two of them kind of go on an adventure of sorts, trying to track down this toy of sorts, even though it's a very deadly one. And just some family reconnectivity and just all of the crazy bloody nastiness that goes down along with it. And that's about, I guess, all that we can say, really, because it is a fairly simple story, relatively straightforward in that regard.
Yeah, I think I would only take umbrage with two of the description adjectives that you used. It's not a reconnectivity, it's honestly a connectivity for the first time. Because it's not the dude's not trying to reconnect with his son. He actually tries.
Oh, I was talking about the brother.
Oh, fair. Yeah. Okay, yeah. But anyway, that's a succinct enough way to describe the plot without spoiling it. And that, it may seem a little shallow, but it worked for the runtime. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It was like an hour and 30
right
minutes.
Around 90 minutes.
Yeah. And the story definitely worked for me, and it was especially bolstered by the acting, which was not hammy, but the characters were at times characters,
yes,
like they
very much so.
But they played those characters well. It's like, oh, I know that person, or I can picture that person, as opposed to someone just being over the top, whoopity-doo, that kind of stuff. Everyone played their part well, so I wouldn't say that anyone had hammy acting, just a lot of times it was appropriately over the top acting. Yeah,
that's a good way of describing it. I mean, the only very, very minor gripe that I have about the story is I felt like the third act, there's a new character, not so much, I guess I don't really want to go too into it, but there is a motivation of obsession with a particular character that I don't know if it was necessarily developed that well, and
it does kind of appear out of nowhere, but
yeah, yeah. But I mean, aside from that very, very minor gripe, and some of the silliness of the other brother, Bill, the one who's like kind of the asshole and everything. Aside from that, I mean, it was really the writing of the dialogue that I found especially amusing, and some of it delivered as straight-faced as you could, and that just only enhanced the comedy for me. So yeah, it it amused me thoroughly.
Yeah. And did you think the acting was
acting was good?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've seen the act, because our lead actor, once we get to the grown-up aspect,
played both roles, right?
He's playing dual roles because of the twins, and so.
There was one continuity issue that I noticed with that, by the way. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
Probably can't mention it without spoiling it.
No, I can. Like, it's just that one of the brothers is a bit scruffier than the other when they're older. And at one point, the unscruffy brother, gets close to the other brother, and they have to take a shot of both of them in frame, and it's clear they used the stunt double, but the stunt double was doubling both of them in the scene, and he had the stubble that the main character does not actually have, even though he was wearing the clothes of the main character.
Correct, you are right. I noticed it too.
Yeah, but outside of that, it was done phenomenally well. The kids were actual twins, had to be related or something, right? Or was that the same actor playing the kids too?
They looked a lot more different than the adult.
They did, didn't they? It felt like two actual actors for the kids. And it wasn't just the hair and
the glasses either. It felt like those were two different kids, which is funny how they would make.
Maybe we're wrong.
More...
If we're wrong, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, please do. But they definitely resembled each other significantly more so in their adult incarnations. But the lead adult dude, he looked familiar, but I don't want to. I didn't research. I just came home and filming this with you, so I'm not sure what I've seen him in, if anything, previously. But yeah, he was he maintained the quirky sort of charm. It was when he was trying to go a little more unhinged as the wackier brother, the Bill character, that I could tell he was having a little bit more fun as opposed to playing the more straight Hal version and everything. And also, was that is it Tatiana?
Tatiana Maslany, yeah.
The one who played the mother. She was She-Hulk, right?
Yep. Well, yeah. God, I hate that she's tied to that instead of Orphan Black. because Orphan Black is a phenomenal fucking TV show, and she played like 10 different characters on that show, 10 different clones of the same person that all had different personalities from different parts of the world and everything. So she's talented as fuck. So anytime I see her pop up, oh my God, if you've never seen Orphan Black, you, Fuego, or anyone else, highly recommend watching the original. They tried to relaunch it.
They did it with Kristen Ritter recently.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and they killed it. They killed it after one season. No, but the original,
it's not good.
The original made it to 5 seasons for a reason. Like, it's really good. So
yeah, and she was endearing as the mother, and she had her little quirky aspects as well that I thought were quite funny. You know, there's a scene after a funeral where she's talking to the 2 boys about, you know, when death comes, and you know, just
I'll die, you'll die, you'll die.
Cats will die, and some people it'll be quick and painless in your sleep, and then others. This movie was very funny in just that dark, depraved sort of way. And,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and all of the actors sold it very well. And even though she's not in quite as much of the movie as I was expecting, because it is flashback stuff, you know. I mean, yeah, she was good. And then we also have the cameo from little Elliot, who is grown up, and he's been in a number. I don't know the name of the actor, Elliot from E.T. He's been in a ton of Stephen King.
Wait, who was he in this?
He was the uncle. The uncle who.
No, really?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Wrong. Like Kyle Gallner on our companion review, but yeah, I think it's him.
Well, and there was a fun bit of Adam Scott that we got in there too.
Yes, yeah, at the very beginning. I even leaned over to you. I'm like, oh, Adam Scott.
Yeah. So yeah, all the acting was solid. Let's move on to the production, because I think the production design and the sound design was really awesome. Like, and that includes. Well, the production design and the sound design are things of their own, right? The production design is the world and how they present the world, you know, the houses, the locations, all that stuff. The monkey itself, you know, I think it was all...
look at the monkey, man.
I did too. It was a lot bigger than I anticipated it being.
Yeah.
That was a little unnerving because, yeah, the symbol monkey I had is probably like a third or a quarter of that size. They definitely upped the dimensions for the movie. But yeah, it's all of that stuff was phenomenal, and the sound design too, because you know a particular song plays while it does its thing, and like they use that and they throw the sound around the the spaces and things, and it it makes it really entertaining to me.
Yeah, and I mean, even the scene that you see in the trailers where they're at the Asian restaurant, which is very amusing, and what ends up transpiring there, as silly as it is. And I doubt that they filmed this in Maine. I mean, being James Wan, I would imagine they probably shot this in like Australia or New Zealand or something like that, because they have so many spots over there that can double as parts of that area of the United States. But I mean, cinematography was nice in that regard. And they do use the sound to like up amusement and menace depending on the situation. Like there's that scene where the real estate person just kind of pops up and there's that little sound cue with it, and the girl next to me jumped when that happened. I was a little more stoic and stationary, but I mean, it was just all very carefully assembled in that regard. And the choice of music as well, I thought, had this very cool throwback swing sort of. Even the song that was playing at the end, I was singing it when I was on my drive home, twisting the night away and stuff. It was, because there is a strange jovial vibe to all of the carnage that's going down, that whole juxtaposition and contradiction. So.
Yeah, I wanted to hit on the cinematography too, because the directing and the cinematography were excellent, and it was presented like it still felt, even though the subject matter, at least compared to Longlegs, didn't feel that Ozgood Perkins-ish. It was still very well done, and it still had the feel of that director. You know what I mean? It's looking back on it, I mean, like it felt like I was like, wow, it's just such a drastically different tone.
Yeah, it's the least serious thing I think he's ever done.
Yeah,
honestly.
but there's still flurries of Perkins in there with some of the crossfades and the way that he used the monkey to scare at times, and like at one point, you're looking at something you think is outside sitting on a wall, but in actuality, it ends up just being the dark reflection at night of it in the window kind of thing. And like the utilization of the light in the monkey's eyes for certain shots, like it just
the reflection.
So that's all crafting, with his vision and stuff. And I think he definitely still shone through as a directing force in this, and cinematography lead. Not that he did the cinematography, but he's directing it. So
and even a couple instances where there was like kind of dream sequences I thought were pretty innovative and interesting. Like there is a scene with crazy trippy lighting where a character feels like they're falling down the same well that they threw the monkey
That was
down.
an interesting sequence, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other one where the ginormous paw.
That was amazing. Yeah.
Really rad too. So I mean, there was inventive stuff going on even beyond like the gore and things of that nature, which I guess we can get to now, right? Because
Yeah.
They show it. I deliberately didn't watch the second trailer because I kind of wanted to go into this one blind, especially since so many trailers spoil so much now.
So you didn't see that? Yeah, they leaned heavily on the final destination of it all in the second trailer. Yeah.
Yeah. I had some people asking, "Are you the guys reviewed it? Are you going to talk about it or whatever?" And I was like, "No, since it's Stephen King and I'm curious how different it's going to be from the source material, I kind of wanted to go in blind." And I mean, there's brutal stuff that happens in the short story for sure, but not to the frequency or the level that we see in this, man. I mean,
it would be fun if you'd be willing to take the time. I know you're heavy into school, but if you wanted to do a video comparing and contrasting the two.
I wanted to. That's why I was listening to it yesterday. Matthew Broderick actually narrates the audiobook, and he does a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think that'd be a fun video to put together. Whether you wanted to put it on your channel or the horror show, either way. I'm sure people would love to see it on the main channel, but yeah. So gore wise, I mean, there's definitely a lot of CG gore in this.
There is,
but
it's
so fun. You just don't give a shit because it's like the audaciousness of the first kill in Heart Eyes is like the audaciousness that most of the kills in The Monkey have. I'm talking about the
one where the woman is in the machine.
Yeah. That you don't normally get that graphic kind of stuff, but this is definitely of that ilk. And I will say also without spoiling, also in the effects category, the movie had far more satisfying explosions than I was expecting.
This is true.
But yeah, it's I appreciated even though, sometimes I was like, oh, that looks kind of silly, but it's only for a few seconds, and then they cut to reactions where they throw practical shit at people. But it's again, the actual things that they're using the CG for are so catch you off guard, silly, but satisfying that I didn't give a shit at all. Like there'll be some curmudgeons going, "Oh, the effects look stupid. They're so CG." But like again, it's if you look at it like a Looney Tunes presents, the monkey, then you're gonna have such a better time. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, man. It's trying to be cartoony. I think if anything, it was a deliberate decision. It wasn't because of budgetary constraints or anything of that nature. They were trying to, because the gore is excessive, but it is definitely played for laughs. And I mean, whether stuff going down in a pool or the stuff hit the bit with the bowling ball was very amusing as well.
Yeah.
You leaned over to me.
It's there's a lot of amusing shit, and so just let it wash over you. Definitely date worthy. If you already saw Heart Eyes and you had a good time with your significant other, this is another one that you'll have a ball with, just for a completely different reason. I think The Monkey so far is my favorite of the year. And even though we're putting up this review so quickly,
because it doesn't come out for a while.
Oh, really? When does it?
Comes out the 21st, so it comes out week from Friday.
Dude, that's almost 2 weeks away still.
Almost 2 weeks, yeah.
Well, we're still going to put the review up right away, but maybe we can come back and do a spoiler discussion. That'd probably be fun.
Yeah. By the time it's coming out, sure.
Yeah. I'll probably meander over and give it another viewing at some point.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm gonna go get that popcorn bucket at AMC, dude. So I'm definitely seeing it again.
That's a good one to go get. Honestly, if you're gonna buy a popcorn bucket, that's a good one. Do
Yeah.
they go on sale on Wednesday or Thursday?
I'm not sure because, I mean, even the early screening we have this Wednesday at AMC and a few other places is still over a week away from the official release.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking they won't even have the popcorn buckets this week. So,
dang.
and that is something that, like, especially if we're going to put this review up tomorrow, because we're
tonight.
doing this on Monday. You guys have the opportunity to see this film on the 12th at select AMC and other theaters. I know Harkins, Regal, a couple of the others are doing it, but AMC, which is where we usually see things unless it's press, they have a number of early screenings over a week ahead of the film's official release. So.
Yeah. If you'll have about a day to go and get your tickets for it after we put up this review, and I definitely think it's worth seeing early because it's just a blast.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, guys, I think that's going to do it for our review of The Monkey. Let us know what your thoughts are if you've seen it in the comments down below. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. We greatly appreciate it. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
And gracias up in Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.